and today I'm going to do the Unpopular Opinions Book Tag. This tag was created by Kashan at the Book Archer, and I will put her link in the description below if you want to go check out her channel. Question 1. A popular book or series that you did not like. Outlander. Oh my god, Outlander. I heard about the TV show and it sounded like something that I would like, so I started watching, really enjoyed the first few episodes, so I bought the book and started reading it, and everything went downhill from there. Originally, I wanted to do a side-by-side review of the show and the book, but in the end I couldn't face making a video that would be so negative. Now, it's a very addictive story, but it's also very, very, very long, and it's got so many issues. There's barely any plot. What is there is overly complicated, it's full of plot holes, it keeps contradicting itself. There are entire chapters of characters having arguments or being thrown into life or death situations that they could avoid by having a simple conversation. There is a huge amount of sexual and gendered violence in those books. There's a lot of sexism and a lot of homophobia. Of course, the characters are from the 1930s and the 1700s, so they view those things with the kind of social attitudes of those times, and that's fine. But the narrative itself doesn't seem to make a difference and doesn't treat any of these issues with the sensitivity that they deserve. It just shows you horrible things happening in horrible graphic details, and that's just not something I want to read. Number 2, a popular book that everyone else seems to hate but that you love. I don't know if this would be a book that everybody hates, because a lot of people also like this book, but I've seen a bunch of people recently complaining about The Martian on my Twitter feed, and they were people complaining about things like there's a homophobic joke in the book, or it doesn't make sense that this thing or that thing or that thing hasn't happened in the world building of the book, or the main protagonist isn't likable enough. And to be honest, I really don't understand where those criticisms come from. I had one criticism about the book, and it is that the end of it is a little bit abrupt, but in my review I wrote that this character is super likable. For people who said there's a homophobic joke in it, I listened to the book again recently, and personally it didn't come across like that to me at all, but that's maybe not for me to judge. Number 3 is a love triangle where the main character did not end up with the person you wanted them to end up with. And I'm going to go with The Hunger Games and Katniss, Gale, and Peter. It's not that I would have wanted Katniss to end up with Gale particularly, or that I dislike Peter. It's just that where Katniss is at the end of the books emotionally and mentally, I didn't really think that it made sense for her to be in a romantic relationship with anybody at all. It's not that I begrudged her being in a relationship or being happy, it's just that I didn't really think that she was in a state where it made sense. Finding it really hard to explain. Number 4 is a popular book genre you hardly reach for. And for this one, I'm going to go with contemporary. I really tend to gravitate towards books that have a science fiction or fantasy or horror element to them, maybe a mystery or a historical thing. I tend to go for books that allow me some escapism in the fact that they're not like everyday life. Contemporary romance, contemporary YA, commercial fiction, I tend not to reach for those kind of things. Number 5 is a popular character that you did not like. I have to say, I really did not like Wade Watts in Ready Player One. I didn't mind him too much at first because the opening is very much setup and world building, but after Wade finds the first clue, there's a lot more of a focus on him and his relationship with his love interest, and he just becomes very quickly whiny and annoying, and it didn't help matters at all to me that his love interest seems a lot more interesting than him. Then he does a couple of things in the name of the greater good, which I personally found really creepy and objectionable. There are things that make the plot go forward, but I think maybe there would have been other ways to do those things. And of course, at the very end of the book, we get some shocking revelations about his best friend, and those really, really annoyed me because I think the book would have been a lot more interesting if it had been in this other person's point of view, because they deal with a lot of issues that are barely touched on in this book that to me were a lot more interesting than all of Wade's problems. Number 6 is a popular author you can't seem to get into. I'm going to say Stephen King. I've actually read 2 Stephen King books. The first one was On Writing, which is his non-fiction book and memoir about his early life and the writing of Carrie and some of his other really influential books. And it's also a non-fiction book about the craft of writing. And I thought that was really good, but it's not one of his novels. I also read The Eyes of the Dragon, which is a fantasy book that he wrote that's really different from the rest of his writing. A friend of mine who really loves Stephen King just advised me to read that one, and it might help me get into King's writing. And I really liked that book, but I still didn't really feel like picking up a book that was like straight up horror. I guess it's not my preferred genre. I like having horror elements in books, but I'm not really a fan of just a horror book. I guess I haven't read the right ones yet and I still need to be converted. Number 7 is a popular trope you are tired of seeing, and mine is you have to get married for plot reasons. It happens in Outlander, it happens in the next book on this list, and I don't think I've ever seen it working anywhere, and I just hate it. There is also the separate, more TV-like trope of you have to pretend to be a couple for plot reasons, and I also don't like it. I just don't think it works. It makes me roll my eyes every time. Number 8 is a popular series you have no interest in reading. And for this one, I'm going to say the Miles for Corsican series by Lois McMaster Bujold. Now, I have a lot of friends who love this series, and I had heard a lot of great things about it, but the first book of it that I read was Captain Vorpatrol's Alliance when it was nominated for Hugo 2 years ago. Now, I really hated the main character in this book, and I couldn't finish it. I had to put it down. Of course, that's book 13 or 15 in a long-running series, and all of my friends who love the series all said to me, but how can you judge a series by, like, the 15th book if you haven't read any of the books before? And that's a perfectly valid argument. But what am I meant to do when this book is nominated for a literary award that I would like to vote in? I really wish there were some kind of rule to say that you can't nominate a book that's this far into a series. I know it's really impractical and it's never gonna happen, but in my case, it completely turned me off from trying this series like ever. And finally, question 9. The saying goes, the book is always better than the movie. But what film or TV show adaptation do you prefer to the book? And this might be a really unpopular opinion, but I much prefer the BBC miniseries of Emma with Romola Garai and Johnny Lee Miller to the original book. I love Jane Austen, but I found the character of Emma really difficult to like at all in the book. It's a lot more unpleasant in the book to see how she treats other people, and it's a lot more creepy in the book to see how Knightley treats her and scolds her like a child and is about twice as old as she is or something and can remember holding her as a baby. When you see them together in the miniseries, you see a lot more of an equal relationship. Plus, let's face it, Romola Garai is absolutely delightful and Johnny Lee Miller is a very handsome gentleman. So this was the Unpopular Opinions book tag. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comments down below if you agreed or indeed disagreed with anything that I said. If you'd like to see more from me, check out the sidebar for some more tag videos. And if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button for more videos from me every week. I've been Claire, thanks so much for watching, and see you soon.